So FiXT, V13 Music Group, 20 years. We actually are kind of at the same level. We just did 21 with the website, but you guys have had far more success and you've grown substantially in that time. I don't have an agenda other than shooting the shit, picking your brains, and asking a whole bunch of cool questions regarding your history and mindset and how you guys got here. Let me set this up. FiXT, pronounced fixed. I'm not reading off Wikipedia. American Independent Media Company, several divisions, founded by Klayton in 2006, but co-founded with James. Is that so far so good?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to dive into, and I've been lucky enough to obviously speak with James before, and we worked with you guys for a while. You weren't happy with the industry, and so you decided to take matters into your own hands, Klayton. That's kind of the crux of it.
You know, it could go either way. I wasn't happy with the industry, or the industry wasn't happy with me. I don't know, but I was in so many failed record deals. You know, being on an indie label, I signed to in 1991, putting out, I don't know, 5, 6 full albums, bunch of other work I've done, and then one day they come to me and go, "Hey, you know what? We're going to go bankrupt, but you're under contract. You can't sign anywhere else, but we have no budget for another album. I'm working a job to pay my bills, and you know, all I want to do is make music. I'm stuck. Nothing I can do." So finally I figure out, I get an attorney who will work on spec basically, because I'm broke. I have no money. And a year and a half. And at that point, I think it was 25 or 30 grand later for attorney fees, I finally get out of that deal. And then I go to another label to release one more album. That was a complete nightmare. Then in 2001, I signed a biggest record deal of my life. Couldn't believe it. Like big advance financially. I was like, wow, I could pay off all the debt I put myself in and really focus on the music. And then 9/11 happens here in the States. And they were like, I was the first and only artist they signed. And they had big plans. There was a big people from the major label system that had come in to work for this smaller label that they were planning on making a major label. And they basically were like, yeah, I'm halfway through this album. And they're like, yeah, we're not gonna continue. We're actually gonna close our doors. And by the way, all that money we gave you, we need that back. So I went from paying off all my debt to being completely broke. And now I had somebody garnishing 50% of my income. And then I was paying management fees and stuff on top of it. So anything I generated, I was only getting a small fraction of for years, for a long time. So my whole history has been broke. But as you can tell in just this quick synopsis, the label system has always failed me. So during this scrambling, trying to figure out how to survive, because I was in school to be a doctor in college, and I didn't want to be a doctor. I don't really like people that much. I want to be around them all day, you know? I'm like, I want to just make music. So I have to survive. That's my end game. And I that's when I ended up meeting up with Chris Angel. He contacted me. We ended up doing a bunch of music together for years. And there were other things that happened around there, but I had to figure out how to do everything myself, make merchandise, make CDs, ship them. And this is kind of where James enters the story. So I had management, Tyler Bacon from Position Music out in LA. I've known him for a long time. And, you know, I was filling my own orders. I was getting I was getting emails, credit card info. I had to punch it into a machine, print it out. And there's this kid in Iowa that kept just like banging on our door going, "Let me in, guys. Let me, like, is there anything I could do to help?" And I had worked so hard and had gotten screwed over so much. I'm like, I'm not letting anybody touch this. And my manager, Tyler, at the time was like, "Give the kid a shot. Like, you have too much going on. Let him try." And I'm like, So I gave James something very small. Managing the street team, I think, something like that, right? It was very simple.
Yeah.
And he 10x'd it. Like, I was like, whoa, like, wow, okay. Finally, my manager, Tyler, was like, "Send all the merchandise to James." And that was a big step for me. This is like, you know, one of the only ways I was making money. And I sent it. I finally shipped it out to him. And he's volunteer at this point. No money. He's working in the medical field. And really for almost 2 years, that was his story. Just he put in the sweat equity, you know, and man, same thing. He 10x'd everything I had given him. So really the idea of going back to a label when I started seeing the potential of like, man, there's something we could grow here. And so I have a brother who's musical, he's a great musician, makes great music, didn't know what to do. He just made the music, but then he didn't know how to distribute it. And I was talking to James. I'm like, you know, we've kind of figured out how to make CDs, make merch, do all this. I'm like, we should just make a label and we can kind of start bringing some artists into the fold and basically passing along what we're doing for me to them. That is the formation and the beginnings of FiXT.
That's awesome.
My God. Wow.
From needs and tribulation, you basically decide to forge forward using your own tools and skills. You got so freaked out basically that you're like, I'm not letting anyone in. This creation, the art is holy. It's mine. I don't want this to, be messed up again. You find James, and then you start to develop this label that now has a 2-decade history around that idea of like by the artist for the artist. And I have so many things I want to talk about, like Chris Angel. I didn't know that. How do you feel like it's going now for you with that premise as a label of keeping things fair for artists? Like, how have you, and maybe this is for James, like how have you guys managed to maintain a business model and be viable, but also protect the rights and interests of all the artists that you've worked with for so long?
Well, it started, and I'll let James take this, but it started from the beginning with me as an artist getting screwed by the system, coming in and saying, we're not doing this to other artists. So from day one, in an era with no labels that we had ever heard of, we're doing this. We structured our deals 50-50. We're partners with musicians. I signed like a 91.9, or I think it was an 82.8. A 92.8, meaning the label got 92%. I got 8%, and that 8% was supposed to recoup tens of thousands of dollars they claimed they were spending on me that I had no record. I don't know what that meant. What marketing? What does that mean? I had no proof. So yeah, James, go ahead, take it from the beginning.
Yeah, just doing 50-50 deals as the baseline for the company has been that underlying principle. And, early on, even when other labels, competitors, it's become a little more common to see 50-50s, it has come from some labels that are maybe smaller. And then you start getting to larger labels that we're competing with. And then it still goes to like 80-20 deals and 85-15. And now we're directly competing with artists that are considering signing with us or with much larger labels. But we're able to offer a 50-50 still versus them, like I just talked to an artist manager last week who had a band that is signing like an 85-15 deal in 2026. And
how is that still happening?
That's a band. So you're talking about multiple people splitting 15%, management, booking agents, and whoever else they're paying. So, right.
And part of our, kind of promise to our artists is just, it's really the fundamentals, like doing the basics. And so many companies don't even get the basics right. So communication, like you can reach us, we'll respond in a reasonable amount of time, meaning like the same day. Like if you reach out to us, you can get a hold of us, versus artists that wait weeks or months to get a response from their label. We send statements and we actually pay our artists. Just doing what you say you're going to do and following through with it, but doing it consistently for 2 decades. And, funny enough, you start to build a positive reputation.
It's true. And when you look at it from James and I's personality and character, that it reflects that. So not only did I get screwed as an artist and didn't want to do that to other artists, but when it comes down to who we are as people, that's how we treat people, fairly and with respect. We're not here driving Maseratis and, buying expensive homes all over the world. And that's not our MO. It never has been. In fact, we look at artists sometimes that are really small and we just go, this music is cool and we can help them get further. We're not going, is this marketable? And can we make millions of dollars on this? I mean, really, business wise, we're probably kind of dumb meaning we're making dumb decisions because, all the other labels we would hear from other artists, it's like they're really concerned about money and how much money they're going to make, and we're like, well, the art is probably more important to us than actually the money. Obviously, as a business, we need money to survive, but that has never been, that's the lowest rung on the ladder for us as far as priorities. Making money is great. That's not our motive. And I think that's reflected in our attitude to our artists, and they feel that we're not here just using them to make a bunch of money. Like that's not our way at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna set something up so that Lance, you can chime in as well, because you come from a background of a indie musician, you're a starving artist, writer. So, like, for people that don't know, FiXT and V13 Media Group have actually been working together for going on a couple of years now, where we decided to have this editorial collaboration because our values are very similar. Like, our values, we have 13 V's, they're on our website, and they started with me, Klayton, similar to you. Like, this is how I live and aspire to live and remind myself to be a good person for goodness sake. And Lance captured those for us very well. And now with V13 Music and some of the other companies we have, like V13 Press, everything that we do is for the artists. We're trying to have this crazy concept of conscious business where you can have a viable business model, you can pay yourself, hopefully aspire to Maseratis, but still not screw over the person that's bringing their product to you. If anything, try to all have Maseratis together rather than, 3 for me, none for you. Lance, you're probably like really loving what Klayton's saying, because you are a writer. You started in the hardcore punk scene. You've seen so much of how artists get screwed over. Me too, which is why, we've developed V13 Music. Why don't you comment?
Well, yeah, the reaction I'm having is just like, that's so punk as fuck. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. Like the entire genesis and origin of like what you've done is just like, okay, you guys don't want to, okay, you guys just have a real problem with being fair. Okay. You want to push people? You want to keep messing with them? Okay, see what happens. Because now you notice how the wheel has turned. Now you keep, and yes, there are still these labels out there that are still trying to do these 85-15s. You keep on being greedy in a world that's tightening and exploiting and trying to draw blood from a stone. I'm telling you something, okay? You keep doing that, and you're going to fall victim to the very the very issues that you perpetuate. I'm serious. Like, this is the issue, is that people think that they can do the whole, I'll have a Maserati and you guys get a goddamn scooter. That's the issue, is that there's such a weird K-shaped divide between I have to have the yacht and y'all can have nothing. And it's like, we can all just each have I know that if you lower your I don't know, quality of life, it's not even that. It's just your level of over the top consumption. We can all live fairly equitably. You know what I mean? It's not, you really don't have to go too crazy. I would be there. Everybody's got an amount where they're like, oh, I couldn't possibly spend past that. But I'll back up, because really it is about where we've come from. And Chris is right that I came from a scene that was, it was the Toronto DIY hardcore scene, and everything that you do, you better do it yourself. Publicity was never a thing. No one in that scene. The consequences that everybody also once they finished, they went kaput. They're gone. Nobody can, you can maybe I had to go reach out to somebody privately for a media share link for an album of theirs. But that's the kind of background that I myself am from, and that it's very similar to what we've done with our everything, our ventures, if you will. Because
I love how you threw K-shaped divide in there, probably subconsciously, just an homage to Klayton with the K drop.
let's pretend I did that purposely.
So let me come back to you guys. 20 years later, what do you think you've done mostly right, and what do you think you've done mostly wrong? Where do you go now for the next 20 years? Talk to me about the very quick review and the setup for what's next.
I think James and I would agree that we've done about 80% wrong and maybe 20% right. That's about, maybe the ratio. But we charted our own path here. We made up rules that didn't exist. There were no rules to follow. The rules that I followed got me screwed. So we were like, okay, how do we do this better? And we made things up, and sometimes they were great ideas, and other times we were like, what are we thinking? That was a terrible idea. For the most part, most of the artists we signed, we still have relationships with, great experiences. You have the few outliers that are just hateful people and just, I don't know, they just love to spend their time hating. So it doesn't matter what you do, but really we have seen many successes, taking artists that really from zero to hundreds of thousands of, whatever the metric is. Right now it's monthly listeners on Spotify, although I believe that's a metric that is becoming less and less relevant every day. But really, at the end of the day, generating money, like artists going from day jobs, being able to quit their day jobs. For us, like I was there. I know what that's like. And I quit my day job for literally hundreds of dollars, like a few $100. And I was like, I quit my day job and starved so I could live off a few $100 just to be able to make music. When we see an artist be free of that system, or, being able to do more because they're actually making money on their art, we're just as excited as they are. And, all of these things that we do, we're not looking to get an artist to make an album and then go somewhere else. We want to provide an environment where they're like, man, I don't ever want to be with anybody else but you guys, because like James said, you guys pay. We've heard that so many times. Like, wow, you're literally the first label we've ever worked with that actually sent a statement and gave us money. So, our business model has ebbed and flowed. We were not too long ago down to a really small handful of artists, and we are now ramping back up. And there's other things involved, but James, you can take over and add to that.
Yeah.
Kind of just.
Yeah. The lots of mistakes, and hopefully we've learned from those. But especially in this industry, I think you have to kind of reinvent yourself continuously, because if you just stay static, you'll get left, in an era that the rest of the world doesn't stay in. Of course, then things come full circle. So, vinyl is back, and streaming had its wave. We were early adopters in streaming, and we rode that wave pretty successfully. But to Clay's point about Spotify monthly listeners kind of being less of a metric than it was there a few years ago, like the streaming wave is kind of crashing out. We're seeing it across multiple platforms, not just Spotify. And we're going back to, 15 years ago, when it was more about just directly communicating with the consumer to download directly from us, just that direct fan relationship. And we've been maintaining that for years through our merchandise. But on the music side, it's like, maybe they'll go pay for a download somewhere. But it's more about streaming, and we're really doubling down, heading into really here just in the next week, some announcements that we're going to be making, and pushing people into this more of a direct to fan relationship, and owning their music again, not just renting a subscription. And there's so much fatigue out there in the consumer landscape of subscriptions and memberships for not just
100%.
music, but everything.
Yeah, everything.
So I feel like we have to kind of continually evaluate our business model so that we can stay sustainable long term, to be here for our artists and our staff, and continue, adding value to all the people that we're working with.
Yeah. I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. I think that change is the only constant. You have to ebb and flow, especially within the music industry. I love what you said there, guys, because Lance and I have a saying, which is fail fast, fail hard, or fail hard, fail fast. We're big believers in just constantly forward momentum and reiterating. And it allows us to get better product, because you take something, you mess it up, you reevaluate, and then you get an even stronger version. Does that come from you guys as humans, or is that something that you were forced to adapt, mindset wise, from running the businesses? Chicken, egg, which is it?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think this is part of where James and I make an amazing team, because James is very analytical. He's the puzzle master. My brain, I have a million puzzle pieces sitting up here. I have ideas for days. And what I often do weekly, sometimes daily, I dump these puzzle pieces in his lap. He knows what connections we have, puts these puzzle pieces together and go, here's a plan. And I'm like, that's a great idea. We'll tweak it. But really, that has kind of been the way we have done things. There really has not been a master plan, so to speak. Again, the primary interest from the beginning was the art. So a lot of times we were driven by the art. This band is cool. These guys look cool or sound cool, or she's got a great attitude, or her voice is killer. And, whatever it is, that's the first thing, really. That's the first thing when we assess something. So really, we don't come in, we have much more of a roadmap now, but in the beginning, it was just more like, this is cool. Now we start plugging it into the things that we've built. Again, some of those systems and some of those ideas are things we just made up because it seemed fair to us, seemed like a great idea. And most times they paid off. Like in the beginning, I mean, ask James, I was the one that told everybody, stop buying albums on iTunes. There's this thing called Spotify. Pay $10 a month and listen to anything you want. And all of a sudden, everybody I knew around me was like, oh, wow, this is great. And we lived in that glory phase for a little while. And we're definitely feeling the fatigue like everybody else. So we adapt, the only constant is change. You're right, Christopher. It's like, that has really been our MO.
Nice. L's, losses. I love this thing. They're so important because they lead to W's. Sounds like you guys have been doing that over and over again. And that's not a bad thing. There's this idea that, L's are bad. They're not, because it's like the road that you're not supposed to go down. Now you're not supposed to go down that road, so you can qualify things out and get closer to the right road. And I might be jumping all over the place a little bit, but we come from similar mindsets and backgrounds. Like my grandfather founded or helped to found SOCAN, which is a performing rights society here in Canada. And he was like, a guy who just wanted to drink beers and play piano. He loved the arts. He was an artist. He was for the artist as much as possible. And what's happened over the last 40, 50 years-ish is that the industry has been co-opted by maybe people that don't have the best interests. Maybe it's more about the profit and about the Maseratis. In your perspectives, and maybe James, you can lead for this one. How do we fix the industry? How do we do more of what FiXT is doing and fix shit on a bigger level?
I mean, talking about it for sure, and just bringing some of these things out into the public and on forums like this, and some of what we've been doing with you guys in the articles, the stuff that we've been doing at FiXT Academy, which you guys have supported, just trying to educate artists, but also consumers. I think that's a good starting point. Joining, advocacy groups. We're members of a society here in the U.S. called A2IM, the American Association of Independent Music. We're members of a label kind of membership called Merlin, and so we're actively engaging with, these organizations that are fighting for independent rights, independent music. I know A2IM has even lobbied, at Congress for, multiple issues that support the arts and music. So just by being a member of those and being active in some of those communities continues that education. And really just being examples, living by the values that we believe in, and being out there publicly as an example to other people. Like, not that we're the best at everything we do by any means, but trying to be an example for other people to aspire to. And, we've got friends that have started labels, and maybe we've inspired them in some small way to do things, by the values that we demonstrate.
So be
I think
the change you wish to see.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just summarizing. So like be the change you wish to see, and just put like value and honesty and integrity out there, and show your work. Does that sound right? Sorry, Klayton, you were saying?
No, I was just saying, like, one of a big, I don't know. an accolade for James and I is when an artist comes to us and they're approaching us because they heard from another artist, like, you need to work with this label. We've had artists that were on much bigger labels than us saying, my deal is up at X date, and as soon as that's up, I'm coming to you. Like,
Huge.
sometimes
biggest-
years before their
yeah.
deal is up, because the word
Huge.
spreads. They're looking from the outside. I mean, we live in a world where nothing's private anymore. You can find anything you want about us. I mean, it's public, you know? And our track record speaks for itself. Again, I think that is just an extension of who James and I are as people. Because there's more to life, in my opinion, than just making all the money you can make.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, okay, cool. Then what? You know, like there is something to how you treat people, and, you know, sharing, like you said, can everybody have a Maserati? Let's hope so. That's what we're all working for, I guess, right?
Yeah. Lance, I want you to feel free to jump in, man. Like, fun fact. So two things and then jump in. So, this happens to just coincidentally be the 100th episode of the Heart Dealer podcast, which I started a year ago. You know, so how fun is that serendipitously the episode 100 is the four of us chatting, having started a relationship a year and a half, 2 years ago. I started the podcast because I got a really positive outcome from my cardiology test, and my doctor was like, you're good to go, man. And I said, Jesus, like, what do I do now? And he said, you give back. And so I took that idea that Lance and I have been forging with, you know, Veritas, honesty, truth, voice of the people, life, and just amplify that in this coaching that I'm doing, the focusing on mindset and love and you know, healing is what I'm putting into this podcast, as much as it also is the tech and the industry and everything. So Lance, like, one fun question for you, Clay, before Lance, you give us some gold here. At what point in your journey did your room behind you turn into an AI data center?
That's the great news is I set the trend. AI data centers are copying me. It's not the other way around. I mean, if any of you want to know if I have a life at all, the answer is right there. I have no life, because anybody who actually has a life and has friends and does social things, they don't have all this stuff. This is where I've dumped all my energy and my resources. And yeah,
nice.
This has been built over a long time.
Love it.
Well, Lance, go for it, man. What you got?
Well, I was going to say, my answer to how to fix it is a little bit more maybe incendiary, but I'd say just take the money out of their pot, and all of a sudden they'll pay attention. Sorry, if the only thing that these people speak is money and profits and shareholder value, okay, well then the only thing they're going to bloody listen to is why did money go down? Why now we have sad face? What happened? Oh, because we kept on being pieces of shit. Like, just there's no mystery, guys. The value equation doesn't make sense for what you're doing anymore. There's no chance of the dream outcome that an artist actually wants, which is the craziest thing. They just want to be able to do the one thing that they want to do instead of having to also maintain a day job that is almost always dog shit. So like, maybe just, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this is very controversial. People get like very like, yeah.
You're bang on. I think that I'm sorry, we might have a delay. I'm not trying to talk over you.
No, you're good.
I think that we've been saying this to artists on our end as well, is that, and we've been learning this through the podcast, through conversations with other people in the industry, is there's this concept of voting with your dollars. You don't have to go and physically vote for a politician or whoever. You vote with your money, and where you put your money, that is the market, and it will dictate things. Streaming, like Clay said, became the thing that everyone voted for, because we came out of this Napster era and we're like, oh my God, this is digital and simple, and it's on my phone. And I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to like download things and upload them and then use kind of whatever tool to clean up the metadata, which nerds like me were doing like all the time on 100,000 MP3s.
Same.
So streaming is now, we're seeing it as marketing. It's not the product. It's marketing to get people, the actual people that will pay with their dollars towards performance or product. And so we're seeing this like shift towards physical first. I mean, we have an artist that basically started from zero. It's his first single, first album, first rodeo, first everything. And he messaged us 100 days ago. He messaged us a couple of days ago saying like, guys, look, I made $100 on Bandcamp in the first month. And for him, that was huge because $100 might not seem like a big deal, but when you invest, $5,000, $10,000 into an album, $100 is a very substantial percentage of you now recouping your overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're seeing the songs that we're drip feeding over a month, at a time, 1 year period ish, as the marketing, pointing people back to the physical or the digital version of the album on Bandcamp that was out from day one, that's there for people to consume. So I think that's how we somehow enact a bit of change as well. What do you two think with that? We're not label experts. You are.
Well, I mean, I think James nailed it with the word. It's fatigue. Everybody is fatigued. Like I'm fatigued. I canceled my Spotify subscription, and it wasn't because they don't pay me enough money. It far more than that. But I think everybody is fatigued. Like something is here. You're on Netflix. You're on Spotify. There's a song. Now it's gone. What happened to that song I want? Now, everything is vapor. And that's why the youngest generation that's coming up right now, there is an entire wave of people leaving streaming. They're getting off social media. They're buying physical again. We recognize this. This is kind of how we come from an era where this is how we grew up. I have a closet full of CDs, Blu-rays, VHS, you name it. And I think that's becoming more of the, people want something that is not ephemeral. Like it's a physical thing. Like James said, we own this, like the feeling of like ownership, even if it is a feeling. Big news this week, Sony licensing deal. They lost their licensing deal with Studio Canal, and they wiped out 591 movie titles because they lost their license. So if you bought The Terminator or any other number of those movies, suddenly they're no longer yours. You don't get your money back. You just don't have the movie anymore. And I think people are just sick of that. We're sick of it. Yeah. Chasing the trends. And I often use this reference, James can tell you, building your house on the sand. It's a biblical principle. You build your house on the sand, the waves are going to come, wash it out, and your house is going to fall. And that's kind of how we look at many things. We use that phrase a lot. But let's not build our house on the sand. In a lot of ways, we felt like we built our house on the sand with places like Spotify, and we knew it. But merch has always been a very important part of this. And obviously fans, like we have always remained loyal and communicative with the fan bases, but we're leaning harder into that more than ever. And again, much like we've always done, regardless of what the masses do and what the trends are, that really has never been part of our we're not concerned about that. If we feel like it's right in our gut, we do it. And a lot of times we find we're one of the people doing it before everybody else starts shifting in that direction as well. But it's just us going with our guts. We're just, again, not motivated by the money, and we're not motivated by peer pressure. We do what we want. Don't really care what anybody thinks about that. As long as artists are happy, and we're happy.
I love what you said about the sand. It's so funny that there's so many like similarities here. Lance and I, when we talk to our artists, are like huge into foundation. We're working with really young or rookie artists, and we say, don't worry about the moonshot and the rocket ship and all that stuff. Let's really build a strong foundation, because that's going to give you the biggest chance for success. And sometimes these artists get discouraged because they're not going to get like huge wins. You're not going to get like thousands of streams and big fan growth. But if you do that properly across an initial campaign, you're going to have that solid base for future runs, for future
longevity.
Things.
It's longevity. Yeah. You're building longevity. You got a nice foundation to keep building that house on that will last.
Yeah. It's a compounding asset at that point. You can literally, like, if you want to get, like, no matter how, like, love or logic you want to get about it, it works by any metric. If you want to go just logic, it's like, that's lifetime value. It's a compounding asset. Like, allow it to, if you want to go love only, like, you don't want to have the experience of, imagine you blow up as an artist and suddenly you realize, like, oh, darn, I didn't do my PRO signups, and I didn't have my sound exchange set up. And it's just like, seriously? You didn't have that stuff? So now everything that you could have had, like, good luck? Or now you have to scramble to get it done? You're playing with, like, you're going back to square one while people are trying to have conversations with you about level 30 stuff. No, that's There's a reason that the one book that I've got about this is called Building Your Foundation. It's literally just like, dude, let's talk about the stuff that is going to actually like allow you to just like have the baseline so that you can do these things. I mean, it's funny because like there's a lot of baseline stuff that you do as a founder and as an entrepreneur where you're like, I feel like we should have done this a while ago. Don't get me wrong. I'm not faulting or negging any creatives out there because it's really hard, man. It's hard to manage all that stuff, but
It is.
yeah, it's super crazy important to get the basics in.
As best you can. Like we said this
Right.
earlier, all four of us are on the same page, right? Like fail fast, fail hard, keep reiterating, keep learning along the way. I mean, you said 80% failure. That's okay, but you still have to focus on the foundations as much as possible to give yourself that chance for success.
Yeah.
So we talked about fixing the industry a bit. Let me ask you this, and maybe you guys can take turns ping-ponging responses, but when you established the company and the brand name, was it fixed as in we're fixing something, or fixed as in immobile, like stationary, or was it both? What's the idea behind the genesis of the name?
That's probably a little less glamorous than that, but we'll run with one of those. Actually, really, the name actually came from when I would edit in Pro Tools, when I was using Pro Tools like decades ago. I would time correct things so that they were in time on the grid. And then when I was done, I would name that playlist or that version of what I had done FiXT. Like I fixed it, FiXED. And then one day I just like FiXT. It's just simpler. And one day I was just sitting there and we were talking about doing this label thing and had a very different name in mind, if you remember, James, which was actually a clothing line. Before there was a label, it was actually going to be a clothing line, which is even more ridiculous. Cool. I don't know. Thank God we didn't do that. And I'm like, I had this idea and I just mentioned the name. He's like, that's great. Let's do that. Like, he's just basically that's what I do is I throw out stupid ideas and then James goes, yeah, it's good or it's stupid. And then we kind of go from there.
Nice.
But I do think it is more a slogan we had. What was it?
Life's a glitch.
Life's a glitch.
Yeah.
Life's a glitch, get yours fixed. So it was about fixing things that are glitching or broken. We've always talked for years about doing a sub label called Broken, BRKN or something. Now I just gave it away and someone else is going to steal it. But yeah, like that idea. It's being fixed in a spot is cool, but we've never been fixed in a spot. Like you said, the only constant is change. We're ever changing, always changing. Yeah. Right now we're changing.
I love that. I mean, Lance and I are very much the yin and the yang, similar to you guys. We were constantly bouncing things off of each other, and that's how we got here. I find it very cool and serendipitous that, the name that you chose 2 decades later is literally like what you're essentially I shouldn't even say trying to do, what you have been doing for the industry. For us, V13 20 years ago was me. My baseball number was 13. V came from vampire because I was obsessed with vampires when I was younger, and then horror movies and like the undead and controlling people with your mind. And then that got shortened to V13. But here 20 years later, we realized that it was leet speak, the internet language of mixing letters and numbers for the French word la vie, because as Nietzsche once said, without music, life would be a mistake. So Life Media Group and FiXT, we're doing our best to fix the industry around what is life, which is art and artistic creation and expression. And it sounds like the four of us are very much on the same page with what we're doing, what we want to do. Is the main motivator for you guys at the end of the day just the music, the art?
Good, James.
Yeah. I mean, another phrase we use a lot is like, we just want to put out good art. So if we believe in it, even, and we have to do it sustainably where we can keep paying our staff and our overhead, of course. So we've certainly chosen some things that we liked that were not necessarily commercially viable in the past, but it's always started with the music, that we have to believe in it, in the art, and a certain production quality, and we have an aesthetic and a kind of a curation of what we want to put out, and certainly our genre lanes that we operate in. but it's about putting out good art.
I
Yeah,
love
and to
that.
prove that, to further that point, there have been long stretches of years where we've kind of gone month to month, where we made just enough money to meet our payroll, pay our bills. And really, you know, other labels would be like, well, don't do a 50-50 deal, make more money, you know? And we, at the risk of the company surviving, did not alter the deal. I mean, we're like, no, this is fair, and we do this until it doesn't work anymore. We make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that you know, in my opinion, proves the point that really the art is the thing that drives the rest of the narrative for us.
100%. I'm thinking of Lance's podcast as well. He's got one called Make Break, where he talks to artists and creatives, authors about, like, you know, what works, what doesn't work. And, you know, just on that line of thought, maybe each of you could answer one of these. What's something that you thought would be just a home run that failed absolutely miserably? And converse to that, what's something that you thought was like the dumbest idea? This is crazy. We shouldn't do it. You know, Blur song number 2, and it just blew up for you. Give me an example of each.
I know one we shouldn't have done, and that was a total failure. And I'm going to say it and gonna be like, why would you have ever done that? We bought a hip hop merch company for $1. But
Yep.
part of it was, you know, we had a relationship with the guy who owned the company, and he was really sales pitched it pretty hard. We were going to make a lot of money, and it made sense. And we're like, we're not hip hop guys at all. Like, I love 90s hip hop, but we're not in hip hop culture. That's not our thing. And so we got a big warehouse out in California, which obviously was pretty expensive. We had staff, we were doing, and man, we started having all kinds of problems. And I think at some point pretty quickly, we were like, why did we do this? This was a terrible idea. And we realized, and this wasn't the only time where we did something and realized somewhere down the path, this is taking away from our core focus. Right. So we always come back to, why are we doing this? Like, our core focus, we're a label. We do this. So why are we doing that? You know? And so I think we're much quicker now to reassess a decision we make around the paradigm. We're a label. Does this fit into that model? Do we see this connected in any way? And that will help us determine kind of if we should move forward or not. So what thing have we done, James, that like we threw it against the wall and it stuck like really well? Can you think of something?
And let me guess, they're all James's ideas.
There's a lot of history, and it's
history.
a lot to step through because we have done a lot of things. But
man,
I'll give you a candidate if you're struggling.
A type of merchant, we take a risk on a merch type or something.
I actually remember James answering this in a way. I think that you were speaking with, I forget who you were speaking with, James, because I've listened to the 2 podcasts, one with Dustin and one with Chris. But I think in one of them you said, like, the Academy was not like how it started out versus what it has become. Was that one of them that you were going to point to?
Not necessarily, but I mean, what we've done with FiXT Academy really started as an internal only thing that we were doing with our artists. Just, we had artists on our roster and we would do like a monthly or quarterly webinar, bring our own team and artists together, educational or inspirational content. And that was one of those things that artists we were recording were like, well, I've been on other labels. I've never heard of a label doing that. That's super cool. And artists were getting value. So then when we downsized our roster a lot smaller, we're like, well, it's hard to do this kind of programming for a really small roster. We should make this a public thing. And that hasn't been as entirely successful as we had intended for that to be public, but we've put out a bunch of that educational content. And, you know, it's probably been more of a quality over quantity, because we've heard from people that have gone through some of what we've put out that have got a lot of value out of it. So it has added value to an audience. But now we're pivoting that one a little bit to, we're scaling up our roster again. So we're gonna focus more of our programming more to our internal roster. But now we have an outlet to share some things out after we record an event and make some of that public. Cool. But yeah, we're always kind of trying little things and education has been one of those, when it was just internal without anybody, publicly knowing we were doing it. We did that for years, and then now trying to make that a little more public facing.
Creating value super key, and that's something that Lance and I strive to do always. In fact, we have weekly AMAs now where it started off as just us talking and hoping for questions to come in, and then having topics that we discuss, and now we're just going to be bringing an artist every week where possible, and doing something like this, a four-way chat about a certain topic within the industry with an artist, and then providing value and taking questions. Is time out of our lives, but we want to give back as much as possible. That's what we're doing here. One of the things that FiXT does really well that I love, that I noticed obviously after we started to collab on content, is you guys really focus on people. You're genuine. You're giving like a spotlight to your staff and to your artists and all the employees that you're working with. So I'm going somewhere with this. I have 3 Ps. And when I talk to artists, I say, if you want to generate revenue, it's performance, product, and placement. Sync. Those are the 3 Ps. I just chatted in the last week or so with a guy named Chris SD, who runs Sync Songwriter, and I presented the 3 Ps to him. And he said, I basically said, like, what do you think? You've been in the industry for a while. These are my Ps, good, bad, ugly. He said, I think they're bang on, but you're missing one element. He said, people. And I said, oh shit. Is the P the 4th P? And we started to talk about it and philosophize over it. And we realized, no, it's not the 4th P. It's the P before the 3 Ps, because you could have all the placement, product, and sync in the world, but if you don't have people to put it in front of, no one's going to care. You could have a show book, you could spend the money on merch, but if there's no one to sell it to, it doesn't matter. So talk to me a little bit about how FiXT views people in general, because it seems to be such a huge component of you guys as a label.
It is the component. I mean, it is obviously without people. I mean, without people, I wouldn't even be here. If it wasn't for James really pursuing me and not taking no for an answer, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast and talking about FiXT right now. But the fan base has always been extremely important. Our employees are extremely important. We do, and I tip my hat to James because these are his ideas. We do a monthly internal company only, like, we nominate an employee and everybody writes something that they want that person to know, like about their personality or what they like about whatever it is. And then they're presented with that, and then they get to pick the next person. And it's just this culture of, community. Like, we are together. We have a like-minded mission. You get to know people a little bit better. I mean, there were times where we were, I don't know, probably over 30 employees at some point, and we've scaled back. It just depends on the roster and what else we have going. But there are times when you start reaching those numbers where there are employees that don't even talk to other employees in the same company because you've gotten too big, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people in general, obviously, across the board, within the company, outside the company, the artists themselves, fandom, and along with that, what other people are there in the world? There are the haters. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
We live in a culture where you could do the most, but my wife follows farmers. She's all into farming and homesteading and all this stuff. People with chickens, and they're posting about chickens, and there's people in there ripping their heads off over chickens. I'm like, everything. So we've just learned we've grown a thick skin, and we focus on the people that deserve the focus to
Right.
be on, which is our community, our artists, and our employees. And you can add to that, James, because there's probably far more than that.
Yeah, I think, the way that we interact with, whether it's our staff or artists, is just, genuinely caring. And I think too many things, particularly with artists and labels, when they're working with other labels, some of the experience they come over is it's been very transactional. And we spend a lot of time like on calls and communicating and investing the time, just like creatively talking with them and being a partner versus just like, yeah, turn it in and, we'll send you your statement. There's a lot of relationship, rapport building in everything we do. And that's internally amongst our team, with our artists, with our industry partners. Yeah, we try not to be just so focused on it transactional. What can you do for me? But we're trying to make, an opportunity or a value exchange between both of us and be a long-term partner.
Good people doing good things for good reasons. Sounds pretty simple. I mean, why doesn't everyone do that?
It does sound so. And again, this is not some prefabricated thing. I mean, this is the way we live. So
Yeah,
it's really just an extension of who we are as people. That's really all it is. This
100%.
is natural. This is not some mission statement we wrote at the beginning. You know, it's like, this is just, so yes, but it does seem pretty basic, right?
I mean, even the values that Lance captured for us, those are public facing, they're on our website, they are like a mission statement, but it's because that's how we truly feel and that's how we live. Like, I do coaching for a living on top of this other stuff. It's because I've made so many mistakes, because I am human and I have fucked up and I have been a bad person and I have, screwed over whoever, and I feel horrible about those things. And every day we aspire to be better and better. So we're on the same page that these are not like placards. They're who we are.
Yeah.
I only have one question left, really. Lance, did you have anything else that you wanted to jump in on?
Well, I wanted to say, like, I did kind of sabotage James's answer to be like, kind of show off that I had read. I listened to 2 of your episodes, James. No, like, really, I thought that I was like throwing some knowledge at that might have been the thing, but I think I might have sidetracked from what you were originally going to come up with. And I think Klayton was also maybe mentioning something. The original example that you were going to talk about with respect to something that you started out maybe not thinking it was going to be such a big thing, and then it ended up being like this way bigger thing. I was wondering if there was something else that wasn't Academy. That was what my best guess, but like, I wanted to ask if you had an actual better example.
Yeah, I don't think I landed on what that could be. I don't know that this is the one, but this is where my brain is going, so I'll just run with it.
Yeah.
We had an artist that we weren't sure where it would go, and he was actually in a deal, kind of what Clay was mentioning earlier. He was tied up in a deal, and we started with a merch deal only, where we normally sign artists to the label, so label, publisher, and a merch deal, and try to build multiple revenue streams. So we kind of broke our rule to start with, well, we'll just do a merch deal. And this artist was the Browning. And so we started with him, and it was only one of our 3 pillars. But then, as soon as he could get out of his deal that he was in and moved over, and now he's become one of our top artists, and we were willing to kind of take a little bit of a risk from our normal deal structure to work with him. So that wasn't a failure. That was like, I don't know if we expected what that would be, but we tried something a little different, and it took off.
And again, he came to us, right? I mean, there was another based on reputation, and then the small experiences he had. He's like, man, I'm on this label, which was bigger than us, and I can't even get an email back or anything else. You guys have done this, this, and this. Like, I feel like I'd be in good hands with you. So really, it was a long play for him. He knew. He's like, I just want to get out of this deal so I can get over to you. And he is really. We've hit all-time high numbers for him. And the Browning merch sales are going strong. He's touring like crazy, doing
That's
really
awesome.
well on the road. The shows are growing. So we're seeing a lot of growth there, but we invest a lot of time, doing meetings and coordinating things and going over artwork, whatever it takes, because at the end of the day, we care. I mean, that's a really weird thing to have to say.
Yeah.
But I feel like we live in an age where people just don't care. They just don't care. They're just looking to make a buck or get into, X number of likes on social media. We don't care about any of that. It is about relationship, and longevity.
Yeah.
And people, the most important people.
You have to put them first, and you have to create value. And I think you have to be grateful for those things. We're huge believers in communication as well. It's crazy how people don't understand how important that is in not just mindset and mental health, but in business. Excuse me. when we have a client that joins, we're not a publicist or a company that says, hey, yeah, give us the information. We'll email you results in a month. We have a private Discord channel for them where they can hit us up 24/7 because we want them to be able to communicate and interact with them. We want to have that two-way street. So communication's a big one. And then transparency. You guys are obviously being super transparent with your reporting and providing that on a regular basis. These are the fundamentals that we need to focus on. I'm always so grateful for the time that people afford me because time is our most valuable asset. Klayton and James, I know how busy you guys are. 20 years later, it's a lot of blood and sweat and time equity to get to the success level you have. So thanks for affording us your time today.
Thank you. Yeah.
100%. So just to wrap up, before you give us your final thoughts and final wisdoms for people to take away, how does the next 20 years look? Where it's not going to be business as usual. Is it going to be fail fast, fail hard? Or do you have like a roadmap? Where does FiXT go from here?
Maseratis and vacation. Well, I think we're never done and we're constantly reinventing. So I feel like if we looked at it on a spreadsheet, it wouldn't make any sense because we are adapting in real time to what the market is doing. We've got AI, which we never even discussed, which is leveling a lot of things, and we're just working around that. So we don't really know. We don't really know where it'll go. We don't know what artists will sign and how well they'll perform and what other things may come down the pipe. I mean, we have lots of things in the works right now. We are about to have our 20-year anniversary event. There's going to be a bunch of announcements there. But yeah, I mean, we have lots of plans. And one of the favorite things that I love to do with James, and it's usually yearly, is we go somewhere. We do a retreat and it's just him and I. There's no kids and dogs. And even if they're cute, it doesn't matter. Just no distractions, just get away. And we think big, and that's what we do. We just kind of think macro. And then he's really good at distilling that and going, okay, here's what's practical and what we can do. And maybe we should start thinking about this. So we're always planning. We're always adapting. And like the 20 years we've already spent, we didn't know we were going to be here 20 years ago. So in 20 years, we don't really know where we're going to be. We just know that we're going to be somewhere and we're going to continue to work. And at the core, we're the same people. That's not going to change. It doesn't matter if we become multimillionaires overnight, however that may happen. It doesn't matter. That's not really, again, the money is not the motivator.
Yeah. So I love that. I just, I don't know why, but as you were saying that, Frozen popped into my head. Is Into the Unknown. It's how it's done. Have a good plan, have a good foundation, and then leave the rest to time and chance, right? Time does the heavy lifting. Lance, I love that idea, and you and I need to steal it about doing a retreat, you and my.
Literally, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I was already okay, I wonder how long it's going to be before Chris shows me a link to airplane flights.
Yeah, Airbnbs and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, James, we did this when you and I chatted, and I want you to both do it now. Final suggestion, final advice, something that people can put in their pockets, can be from a label perspective, an artist perspective, or even a business perspective. Just give me something, whatever comes to your mind. Wisdom.
See, unfortunately, I don't remember what I said last time, so I might just repeat it because I think I have the same go-to. I think patience is a big thing. Too many people are looking for the microwave, fast food version of success, and they're looking for shortcuts. And there really are no shortcuts. You want to.
There's no Ozempic in the label industry, right?
Right. So having some patience, allowing things to take the time that it requires for that seed to get watered and grow and ready to be harvested, to use analogies. So having patience, just showing up consistently over time, and then you'd be surprised. You look back and wow, it's 20 years later and we've done a whole lot of things. But yeah, we're going to keep going and keep showing up.
Love it. Mr. Clay, wrap us up.
Follow your gut, follow your heart. be who you are, and you'll find your base. Like when I started Celldweller, metal kids didn't get it. It was too electronic. Electronic kids, it was too metal. Really every piece of musical society was like, I don't get this. But all of a sudden I started finding kids that were like, there's nobody else doing this. This is awesome. And then it grew on top of there. So, and it's easy to say now that I have the confidence because I've been through it. It's hard when you are on the other end of this and you want to start an idea, but you stick to your idea and you stay true to yourself and you will find your audience. Ignore the haters. They're a waste of your time.